You know, there's an aura about Texas. Part of it's sort of evangelical in nature. And I'll tell you, starting the morning with Pastor Thomas, Reverend Rollins, Brother Whitley, Bishop Kirk, I don't know about you, I'm inspired. Are you inspired? Amen? Do I hear an amen? Things are different in Texas, and we're pleased to be here. I mean, everything's bigger in Texas. This conference could not be more welcoming. I come from Portland, Oregon, where it rains all the time. And what did you do here in Texas? You gave us a 6-month supply of rain in one day. It's amazing what you can do. I look forward more than I can tell you to this conference every year. It's kind of the highlight for me. Okay, you can say being in Congress, that may not be a very high bar, but it is magic. Watching what has happened over the course of 2 decades, charting the progress in Dallas. It's stunning thinking about what we were talking about in 1999, the vision that the mayor, that DART, the community leaders, and what's happened. It's astounding. I will tell you that at a time when we have people in Congress and many who would lead this country who have a view of American exceptionalism that somehow the richest, most powerful nation on the planet has gone from yes, we can to no, we can't. That we can't have the high-speed rail that we have in other countries around the world. That somehow the richest, most powerful nation cannot afford to rebuild and renew America. That we cannot educate our children without a mountain of debt. That we're the only advanced nation that cannot prevent gun violence from being inflicted upon our families. That we can't extend health insurance to people too poor to qualify for Obamacare. But what you have done here and what I know you have done in communities across the country is testimony to people are figuring it out. They can, in fact, go forward. You are examples. If you review the program that has been assembled, and Dan, I can't say enough about what you, the committee, have done in terms of providing a glimpse into communities that are livable from a wide variety of circumstances, how they've assembled the tools, stretched the resources, engaged the public, invigorating people with their plans, connecting suburbs with new land use patterns, parking policies. The toolkit continues to expand and be refined. There are critical contributions to learn from and inspire one another. And so much has been done by dealing with creatively engaging the public and building that citizen infrastructure, which is what Rail Volution is all about. The citizen infrastructure is every bit as important as wires, roads, pipes, and rail. And you're contributing to it here today. As self-reliant, creative, and innovative as you are, federal policies still matter. And part of what we need to be focusing on throughout this gathering together and beyond is how do we maintain and improve that federal partnership? Well, one of the first things we need to do is to stop trying to pay for 2015 infrastructure with $1993. As some of you know, I've introduced the first gas tax increase in 22 years. And it's interesting watching the process take place. I think we're in the midst of proving Winston Churchill prophetic once again when he said you can always rely on the American people to do the right thing after they've exhausted every other possibility. And that's the name of the game with transportation finance in your nation's capital. You know, the latest iteration, and there's actually a bill that's moving out of the House committee, and there's one in the Senate committee that actually they're not too bad. Given some of the changes that have taken place in Congress, I actually am kind of pleased with the framework. But they are both hollow shells. They don't speak meaningfully to finance. Let's see, in the Senate, we're going to tax banks, having the financial institutions, which of course we all know are putting the most strain on our nation's infrastructure. So it's validating our user pay principles. We're going to sell the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, buy high, sell low. What genius has thought that up? The gas tax actually works. It's simple. And my legislation has the broadest base of political support outside the executive suites of some leaders in Congress you will find for any major piece of legislation. When introduced, we were joined by the AFL-CIO, by the Chamber of Commerce, by truckers and AAA, contractors, transit, bicyclists. I mean, it is an amazing array of people who are settled going forward. We've had 6 red Republican states, Idaho, Utah, Iowa, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Georgia already this year have raised the gas tax. This is something we can do. And it is, in fact, gaining traction on Capitol Hill. We've got over 3 dozen original co-sponsors. The last conversation I had walking out of the Capitol was with a Republican who said he wanted to talk to me about raising the gas tax. We need to continue focusing on this because this is the only way that we're going to be able to get there fast enough to give you the first 6-year true reauthorization since I was on the Transportation Infrastructure Committee in 1998. But it's not good enough to raise the gas tax or simply index the gas tax, as my legislation would also do. We have to replace the gas tax with a modern road user charge that will enable us to do something that is sustainable going forward, that will approximate true road user benefits, and in so doing, it will enable us to have the technology that will transform the motoring experience. Because that same technology that will enable us to keep track of how far, notice I said how far, not where people go, how far they go, will also enable people to find out where the closest parking space is, how much it costs, and how to pay for it. To get real-time road traffic information. To be able to seamlessly on that smartphone, there's an app for it, to be able to pay for your bike share and your car share. For Amtrak, it's an opportunity for us to pull all of that together, have, I'm actually going to say it, congestion pricing, so that everybody that's going to go across that bridge at 8:30 in the morning may pay a tiny bit more. And something that will make it more acceptable for rural and small town America is that we could actually have a slightly smaller charge for people who are in areas where there isn't so much stress on the infrastructure. We can engineer the transportation experience so that we're not going to have to do a lot of concrete and asphalt, and we'll be able to get a lot more capacity out of what we've got. The other piece that I feel strongly about, that Rail Volution is on the cutting edge, is you're working at how to be inclusive. We can't afford to leave any neighborhoods behind. We can't afford to leave any members of the community behind. We cannot have communities that are defined as the gentrified, high-tech, exciting, vibrant places, and then have the functional equivalent of slums in the outlying areas or in other hidden pockets. It doesn't work. We can't afford to waste anybody. And we have to deal meaningfully with giving economic opportunity shared widely. And the fastest way you know to give that broad economic opportunity is to rebuild and renew this country, creating millions of family wage jobs, more tax value, to be able to have a virtuous circle. We've got to deal with racial injustice. If you read the front page of the New York Times yesterday, talking about what happened in one progressive city in North Carolina, talking about how the justice system discriminated against young black African American males, it's outrageous. And we've got to make that a part of our conversation as well and do a better job of Rail Volution, reaching out and engaging and listening to and working with. I spend a lot of time talking about reforming marijuana legislation. People snicker a little bit, although actually economically it'll be bigger than the NFL in 5 years. But one aspect of the failed prohibition of marijuana is that it discriminates against people of color, particularly young men, who are 5 times more likely to be arrested or imprisoned and destroy their life. That's part of the 2 million young black men who have disappeared. We've got to deal with things like that. And I love the fact that Rail Volution is including food in the equation. I mean, this is an opportunity in this country to do a better job of nutrition, a better job of protecting the agricultural interests, to have those farmers markets, to connect farm to city, to be able to have a growing part of rejuvenated cities that deals with food and gardening and teaching kids about food and not wasting it. These are all part of a thread for a livable community. That's our mission. And you've got a sense of mission, I hope, to go with the vision of the livable communities. It's a key to communicate things that work, that you know about. Reverend Thomas, it is about transformation. It's about changing lives. And our work with livable communities is the key to making our families safer, healthier, and more economically secure. And we couldn't be at a better place than Dallas today to watch how it's all coming together. Thank you very much.